Hello, welcome to Let's Beat It Together, the podcast, episode 13. I'm your host.
Restarted. You're doing a terrible job with the intro. Just restart it do it from the top.
John Jaguar.
And you're not the host.
My special guest, Luca Yuxula.
You're not the host. I'm the host.
Oh, Yuxula. No, you're not. Since when are you the host?
Well, I think everyone in our two-guy relationship, we're two-guy squad. I think everyone recognizes me as the alpha male. You are the beta male.
I don't know who has ever said that to us. I don't know why you would think that. I don't know what delusional world you're living in, but
like the lion who has sex with all the female lionesses and 30 a day or so. You just sit there on the sidelines.
You've always been my special guest, my little man, little Luke.
Yeah, well, whatever you need to tell yourself, make yourself feel better about the situation at hand.
The situation at hand, which is like, okay, well,
popular opinion, my friend John Jaguar.
Yeah, my last name is officially Jaguar. Changed it.
John Jaguar Jaybird.
All right, I'm not gonna. That would probably be a pretty bad last name, wouldn't it? Especially if people found out that I changed it to that.
If they found out you changed it to Jaybird?
No, Jaguar.
Yeah, Jaguar's not a very cool name. They probably would think you're a loser.
I've gotten plenty of compliments on the name Jaguar, and I think that's offensive that you should say that to me. I think more people have said, "Hey, that's a funny, cool name. That's better than Yogsula."
Did you make that name up all by yourself, Jaguar, or did you just look at a car commercial and say, "Hey, maybe that'll be my new name"?
Well, no, it was inspired by the car commercial. I thought, hey, it's funny that they say Jaguar. I think that's a funny way of saying that word. There's plenty of ways you can say the word Jaguar. Some people say Jaguar. Some people say Jaguar.
I know of just
more Jaguar.
You can say Jaguar or Jaguar. That's it.
Jaguar. Jaguar.
No, nobody says that.
Yes, plenty of people say that because that's how it's actually like closer to how it's spelled.
Where do they say that? What part of the world are they talking like that?
Plenty of different places in America say it. Jaguar. The Jaguars.
Say Jaguar.
Here come the Jaguars.
Say, look, it's the Jaguars. Or you say there's the Jaguars.
Well, nobody says. To be fair, nobody says. Here come. Look, it's the Jaguars. If they say it, that's British accent.
Like, you're getting off topic here.
I guess the Jaguars. The Jaguars. Like that. So, this week, we're talking about fancy graphics. Everybody, we're talking about most specifically, I guess we're going to link to it in the description. So y'all can check it out for yourselves and judge for yourselves so you can see what we're talking about. The Pinnacle of V GTA mod, which got some like publicity recently. It's a big GTA 5 mod, but it's only made by like one guy or something. I'll tell you one thing though.
Busy boy.
It is not the pinnacle of web design. I don't know if you checked that website out for his mod. It's terrible. But the mod is beautiful.
Well, now you're getting real specific about things on an audio. This is an audio-driven podcast, my friend. You're talking about pictures and websites. I don't even know what it looks like. You're confusing everybody.
You click the link. You clearly.
People will listen to this in their car.
Well, this is why you need to prepare for our show a little bit better next time.
They're on their airplane flight. No, I'm telling you.
Sent
from
you
the
a link
perspective of one of the folks at home sitting there thinking, "What the heck's this guy talking about?" I don't have a website in front of me. I'm just listening to these two boys creamy butter in my ears.
Now,
I don't see anything. I keep my eyes closed. I put a face mask on.
Hold on. Look, Yuxula, I told you. I prefaced this by saying that we will have the link to the website and the YouTube video in the description everywhere of this, so people can check it out for themselves.
No, you got to understand why people listen to the Toad Boys podcast, and it's because they want to have their eyes closed while they're kicked back in their lazy boy recliner
All
Like
right,
taking
so
a
I
nice
want to.
long dream.
You know what? I can tell you about
It's
where
like
we're going with this a little bit better. So hold on, okay? We're gonna be talking more specifically about something, so you don't need to see exactly what the mod looks like. But if you want to look at it, you can. But more what I'm talking about is just photorealistic graphics and how far along we've come. When it's gonna take, how long it's gonna take till we get to the point where those graphics become standard.
yeah, we crunched
They're
the
on
numbers here.
consoles.
We crunched the numbers over at
We did. We did a
the
little
multi-toad
math.
factory. Ran the analytics. We
Yeah.
got top scientists in. Graphs,
Yes.
spreadsheets.
And
Figured it out.
we came to the conclusion that it'll be probably about 20 years or more until we see those kind of graphics on Xbox, PS3, and probably like 50 years before they're on Wii.
I don't know. They'll ever
That
be
was a
on
joke.
Nintendo Wii U.
You don't think they'll ever get to that point?
I don't know that they're just going to start producing Baby Mario games. Here's
I think
Baby
you're right.
Mario number 62, and you're just going to ride around your go-kart throwing turtles at people. Because the
Yeah.
kids getting the Nintendos, they don't want to be looking at the real world.
Well, look,
Mario's never going to take place in the real world.
you can talk about 4K graphics, and you think about how long it took Nintendo to get to the point where they even had HD graphics, and which just recently happened with the Wii U. The Wii didn't have them.
Yeah,
So-
it was a disappointment that Nintendo has a long history of gimmicks. Now, I remember the N64 versus the PlayStation, and you could compare the two. You could say these aren't that different of graphics. They're both not very good, but it's a big step up from Sega Genesis. It was impressive, the leap between the two generations. And then Nintendo is like, you know what we're gonna do for our next console? We're gonna make the little tiny discs, and we're gonna make it in the shape of a little cube that you can carry around to your friends' houses. It's got a little handle on it. Carry it around. It's a little cube with tiny little baby discs in there. Yeah, but we're not worried about graphics. What taking a priority on our list is gonna be that it's shaped like a nice little cube with these little baby discs. You tired of having disk storage? Well, guess what? We're gonna make the disc baby disc, but we're gonna have the cases the same size as every other case, because we don't want you to lose them. Put them in the case. Same size as your DVDs, so it does not have a lot of contrast in your collection. You want to have it up on the wall. You want to look at the games. Those of you with OCD at home, Nintendo's got your back. Sell you the cube. Buy the GameCube.
Yeah, and then it was like the color of Barney and had that weird handle on the back. I guess like they intended to let you take that around to your friends' houses or something, like carry it.
With no real other accommodations for travel. It still had all the big long cords with the clunky controllers, and still had all the cords to plug it into TV. If it was like a Wi-Fi cube where you could just like set it down and it would connect to the TV automatically or something, I'd be like, okay, so this is like the travel cube. Set it down, no setup anywhere, so you can take it, play it on the go. That would be like, fine, I get it. That's the gimmick, and it can work. But that was the first. That was like Plymouth Rock for Nintendo, and landing on Gimmick Island. And ever since then, it's been everything else instead of graphics and good games.
Well, some might argue that I guess they have been short on games. With Nintendo, you know what you're gonna get.
Well, you know,
Rehashed games and.
If you could say that about Super Smash Brothers, you know what you're gonna get with Smash Bros. Then Brawl comes out and screws everything up. Now, I don't even say the Mario Party games. They've been kind of inconsistent. They've had it was a working formula back on N64, and you want to keep doing those? They're fun games. Do a whole bunch of them, but don't change stuff around. And you know what really grinds my gears about Mario Party is that they don't give you a mini game star at the end. Every time
You actually got that once.
I got it once. But
Yeah,
I
it
think it should
wasn't
happen
every time.
single time you get a mini game star, because that's the only testament of skill that can be rewarded in Mario Party.
That's
you win
like,
the most mini games.
that's
Here's
like
your
the-
reward.
That's like direct Nintendo meddling, like just trying to make sure like that skill is not that important.
It's
They
just
want
like directly
everybody to have a chance.
And that's like the blue shell in Mario Kart. And another thing I think it's called rubber band physics in terms of racing games, where if you're in front, you're slowed down a little bit, and everybody in back is sped up a little bit, just so that you can't ever be better than anyone else. You have to artificially always be in some way or another by Nintendo, because they don't want anybody to have any kind of skill in their games. They want to have little baby boys sitting there, crowded around the Nintendo Wii. Their moms brings them in some lemonade and Hot Pockets, and they all have a great time. And none of them getting mad at each other, except for everyone hates each other when they play Nintendo games because everyone knows it's bullshit. Nobody's tricked by that. Nobody's tricked by the blue shell and thought, oh yeah, you got me good with the blue shell, Jeff. Good job. Nobody's like, they're like, you, Jeff. That's bullshit. Nintendo's bullshit, and it pisses me off.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but
Oh, Auxilia, you won all the mini games the whole time. Well, guess what? Here's a star for hitting the most red spaces, Jaguar. You hit the most red spaces and lost all the coins the whole game. You're in last place. Well, let me go do you a solid. I'm gonna take all the coins out of Yogzula's pockets and pour them into your little knapsack. Congratulations, you just won Mario Party.
you sound emotional. Are you okay?
You know,
I know you get upset about stuff like this, but I gotta tell you, I think you gotta calm down.
I'm gonna reel it in here. I'll tell you something I did recently. On the topic of Nintendo,
All right.
I went and made my first purchase off of Craigslist. Never did it before, and I drove all the way out to Delaware. Took about an hour drive
Okay.
to pick up an item I purchased on eBay. Well, you don't purchase it on eBay.
Well, this is a carryover from
This is
last
we're gonna
podcast.
update you from last time because we did talk about the meat.
Godzilla was talking about going and buying a kiln
Right.
from strangers on Craigslist. So let's hear what happened.
So I pull up at the neighborhood. Now here's what I did first. I pulled up Google Earth Maps and I checked it out. I got on Street View and I walked down their street. I looked at the color of their house. I looked at their car, their model, and I looked at everything. Google Satellite is amazing. Street View is amazing. It's phenomenal. I can't believe it. I can't believe more people aren't talking about it. You're on the streets. You can walk around a whole neighborhood.
Well,
And
it's not it's not news. It's been around.
I know, but it never really made a splash. It's a great thing. Google does some great stuff. But anyway, I'm outside this woman's house.
I think it made plenty of
I-
plenty of splashes.
I'm outside this woman's house and I'm checking everything
Oh,
out. And I'm like, this is a pretty nice neighborhood. I'm not too concerned about pulling up here and getting mugged or anything like that.
Okay.
So I drive on down, hit a ton of traffic. Somebody got in a car accident. I was sitting there stuck in traffic for about an hour. I had to call her up and say, hey, look, I'm real sorry about this, but I got hit in some traffic here. I'm gonna be a little late. Now the sun's coming down. She's getting nervous, thinking I'm waiting for the cover of darkness to come in and steal from her, murder her and her family. And so I pull up outside and there, and when I finally get there, and there's two guys out there by the garage, and they're eyeing me up. And as soon as I step out, they don't even say a word to me. Like, are you the guy for the kiln? And I said, sure am, fellas. And then
Did you sound like? How did you sound? Did you say? I don't imagine you sounded like that. I think you probably went up to them. You're like, yeah.
I said, sure am, fellas. Nice to
Okay.
meet the two of you. And they've been very nice. They brought the kiln was originally in the basement, which made me nervous because they're like, oh, go to the basement, get it up the stairs. And I'm like, you're gonna slam the door behind me, and I'm gonna be your sex slave for the rest of my life, as short as it may be. After I'm tortured and eventually killed.
Now, did you tell anybody where you were going? Like before
Yeah.
you showed up?
And a few people knew where I was going. And I said, look, I got it on Google Satellite View. You can go on the Street View. Check it out. It's amazing. You look at the house. That's where I'm going to be.
But that's a big survival tip for everybody. You know, if you want to survive, tell someone where you're going, so they know if you're trapped in a basement and turned into a sex slave that you will be discovered by the police.
But I go
Very
down there, and the house is beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's an older house. The whole thing is furnished. The whole basement looks like the first floor of anybody else's house. It's carpeted. It looks phenomenal. And I compliment them on their home. I say, this is a beautiful home. It's a wonderful deal. This is a bargain. I'm getting this and all these extra things for just $250. I couldn't be happier. And I got it. They helped me put it in the truck. And I couldn't have been happier with my purchase. I got back in, drove home, no traffic, picked up some KFC on the way home, and I'll tell you something, it took me 20 minutes to get my bucket of chicken at the KFC, but I got out of the KFC, chicken was delicious. I got home, slid that kiln into my garage, closed the door, make sure nobody comes and tries to steal it, and here I am now.
Okay, so, well, one thing I have to remind you. Now, you did claim that you were gonna show up to these people's houses, and you were gonna not houses, but house, and you were gonna lay down the law with them, and you were gonna say that, look, I only brought $200. I got my truck here. I
You
can take
know.
this off your hands, and we can replay that for everybody too.
So I'm gonna roll up there with $200, or so they think. I'm gonna say, look, I thought the ad said 200. I'm here with my truck. I'm willing to get this sucker off your hands. Just give it to me. Pop it in the bed of that
You
truck,
throw that in.
and I'll ride on out of here. And I did say that. I did say that, and I said I'm going to try to negotiate the price. They said 250 or best offer. So I said, you know what? I could probably negotiate. But I was an hour late. They had gone through the trouble of bringing it up the stairs for me. They had thrown in a bunch of extra stuff. I got all kinds of stuff. It was a great deal, and I felt bad at that point. To be like, hey, you listen, I'm here. I only got $80 on me, but I got the truck. I'll get rid of this. I'll get rid of this baby for you. Just load it in there, and we'll call it a day.
What did you just say? You had $80 on you?
No, I had $250 on me. I gave her all $250. I didn't try to negotiate. I would have felt bad. It was already a bargain, you know.
Okay, well,
And I wasn't gonna push it. Nice lady, nice family, beautiful family, and had a beautiful little boy there. I think it was her nephew.
beautiful little boy.
The whole family was just wonderful.
All right, choice of words. Okay, so did you try it? Did you try it and see if it works?
Well, the thing about a high-powered device like this is that you need yourself a real. You need to full throttle
Oh
on
my
the socket.
god. They didn't even prove to you that it was working before you plonked down $250.
Well, you know something? I have their address on Google Street View. If I plug that killing in and it doesn't work, I'll drive right on back there and I'll torch the house.
Well, you shouldn't do that, but I actually read an article today.
Eye for an eye.
Okay. I read an article today, and I assume that the same thing applies here, and it's unfortunate news for you, my friend, if it doesn't work, because it was written by an attorney, and it was about selling used cars on Craigslist.
Hmm.
And what he said is that occasionally someone will sell a car on Craigslist. It could be like super cheap, like $500, it doesn't matter. 200,000 miles, doesn't matter. Let's say you sell that car on Craigslist, and the guy comes back to you and he says, "Hey, the car broke down. I want my money back. I'm
Late,
gonna
all sales
sue
are
you.
final.
I'm gonna sue you if you don't give me my money back." Now, in that situation, apparently, the seller has all the power because you bought it as is. And so that's too bad. You have no legal way to get your money back because that's just the law.
But you rattle them a little bit. You say, hey, I'm the guy. You don't know where I live. You don't even know my last name. You know my first name and what my face looks like. And this face will be the last face you see before your whole house and your little beautiful baby boy is torched. And all you burned to death because you wouldn't give me my money back.
Just got done talking about how beautiful this family was and like their little beautiful baby boy.
I show up to the
beautiful
house.
basement and
I say, you got a beautiful family here. It's a beautiful home. You got a nice life.
It'd be a shame if something were to happen here.
It'd be a shame if you a Molotov cocktail went flying. Real easy to make. Came flying through your window. Let the whole thing burn it to ash because you wouldn't give me my money. It'd just be a shame. So. Think about your family, miss.
Okay, so I want to back up a little bit here. So you're saying you don't have the power to run the thing? Like, what are you saying exactly? Do you need an adapter?
No, you just need an outlet. This is a 4-pronged electrical device. You've probably never seen something like it before. But you need a special outlet, and you need to have enough voltage running to that outlet. Now, I knew that it could be an issue. There's something I knew beforehand. So I don't have that outlet. I need to get that outlet. But I got an uncle. He's an electrician. We're going to have him come over, take a look at things. Sometimes it can cost a little bit of money to upgrade the outlet, which typically is going to be worth it in my case. But if worse comes to worse, and
where are you going to put this thing?
I'm going to have it in the garage. And if worse comes to worse, and I can't get the power without spending a fortune, I'm going to just flip it for an easy $700, $800, maybe more.
Do you guys have that separate standalone garage, don't you?
Yep,
It's not attached to the house.
that's
I
right.
think I remember. Yeah. Okay, so oh man, you're gonna have a nice workbench set out there, aren't you? You know, make your clay projects. Now you've been talking about doing something like this with your hands for a long time,
I've
so
always
I
had a
know
gift.
you're serious about it.
I've always had a gift with my hands when it came to sculpting.
Have you?
I have, and I've always
Well,
liked.
okay,
I've
I'll give you the
always
benefit of
liked.
the doubt, but I've never seen proof of that yet. I don't think I have, at least.
Well, you and I went to university together,
You
where
got some nice arts and crafts.
we just did a lot of bullshit painting of cardboard and stuff. That's not where my heart is. You know, I've always had a thing for art. Not drawing somewhat, but I've always been had a hand at sculpting things. As a
Wait a
young boy,
second.
I worked with Sculpey clay, and I was good at that. Did some clay work back in elementary school. I had a hand at that, and I can.
Clay work. Okay. Well, wait. Well, didn't you have the foundations class where you were making stuff with like the foam board?
Yeah, that was bullshit though. It's not the same.
I hated that. I hated all of that. That was a big waste of time, by the way. And I heard that Philly, you changed their curriculum
For those of you who don't
recently.
know,
Kudos to them for changing their curriculum recently and apparently getting kids into development earlier.
found you
That's
confusing
actually what
everybody.
they're
Let's
going to school
let's
for.
go to first base before we try to steal home. Let me tell them about.
Right. So nobody knows what I'm talking about. That's fine. Go ahead.
And this is something for a lot of universities now, and it's a problem in my opinion, is that you start out the first year, and if you're going into an artistic program, I was animation, Jaguar was doing graphic design, I believe, or web design. I'm not sure if you were that the whole way, but it doesn't matter. First year, they had us do a lot of arts and crafts that middle school students would do, elementary school, cutting up pieces of foam and gluing them together with rubber cement, painting in little shapes. It was basically coloring books of cardboard and paint. It was the worst.
Mixing paints and stuff.
It
was
was the
ridiculous. It
worst.
was some kind of like attempt to get us to have better craftsmanship and attention to detail and all this nonsense.
It was stupid, and it was a waste of my money the first year. That was all we did. I didn't do animation until second year. Not a single
Well,
bit of
the
it.
problem was that it wasn't. It was all just they put everybody in the same, like the same projects. The same majors had the same foundations courses, and the Philadelphia University didn't have a portfolio that you needed to submit and have it like to review it. They kind of just accepted everybody. So everybody had to do a foundations class, and it was ridiculous, and
Right.
most people hated it.
It was a scam. Philadelphia University is a scam. Don't go there. Don't give them your money.
I didn't have the same experience, but I understand your frustration. Although I had some frustration myself, but we won't get into that on this podcast. We want to talk about video games because this is a video game podcast. And I don't want it to just be
Yeah.
a footnote. You know, what we were talking about originally is graphics and game graphics. And I will tell you that when I was in senior year of college, I made a game myself.
Yeah, I
And I
remember
was
that
pretty-
game. It was a piece of shit.
Well, duly noted, your opinion is valid and
I'm just saying.
ultimately worthless.
I'm just saying. Now, it was nice that you threw together some game like that, but John, this is one of those games you find on Steam, and you got trying to get green
It's
lighted.
not.
You're
It's
trying
not.
to get green lighted, and you say, "Get that piece of garbage out of here! Bring it back, Steam. Bring it back to the days where real games are on Steam, not this piece of crap made senior year project by John Jaguar, piece of garbage. Put it in the dumpster."
I really am very offended by your opinions here. I don't think it's fair to say that. I have no delusions about what that game was.
I never played the
and
game. I'll be honest. I never played that game. I just
I
saw.
thought you did play it.
I saw like a 15-second clip of it. It looked pretty
I
nice.
didn't make any clips of it.
It looked like you made it in it
It's
looked
a
like kind of
playable game.
it looked like Oblivion graphics.
It's not.
Looked like you used some kind of engine, that the same one that Oblivion was built off of, something like that. It looked like
it's not.
it was an orc game. The orcs would storm into the castle and they try to kill you, and you had to say, "Get out of here, orcs."
Yeah, I made a game. Very, that's a pretty generic sort of game.
Very
but
similar to Orcs Must Die, which is a game that you
except
definitely
much,
ripped off.
much worse. I didn't know about that game until I was
Yeah.
in the midst of development. So you shut your mouth about
That was
that. I will
convenient.
stand by that. I will stand by that. When I was making that, someone told me like, "Hey, there's a game. It might have been you. There's a game. It's called Orcs Must Die. It sounds like what you're doing." I said, Well, crap. Not that I really cared because this is a little school project, and it doesn't. I didn't had no intentions of ever releasing it to the public. So
Well,
whatever.
maybe as a little special
I don't
treat,
care.
the Christmas season is upon us. Maybe as a special treat to all our listeners, we will give each and every one of you a copy of John Jaguar's very special Orc Castle Defense game. And just get in contact with us, give us your email address, and we will send you an exclusive hands-on opportunity to play some more Castle Defense.
Yeah. Now I did tell a couple journalists that I sent them around to like a little newsletter.
You sent around a little newsletter?
Yeah, to some very big journalists, and they reviewed it on their websites, and they loved it.
IGN gave it a 8.7 out of 10. Not a 10 out of 10, but that's pretty good for IGN.
Yeah, I also paid them off a little bit though for that review. I
Paid
said,
them
"Hey guys,
offers.
here's a $5." I swapped it over to them, with my PayPal account, and they said, "Thanks a lot, buddy." Haha. And then they gave me an 8.7. And I said,
Sometimes,
"Hell yeah." I
money
shouldn't have
talks.
said that on podcast though. I shouldn't have said that.
They'll probably sue your pants off for that. Now everybody knows.
Oh jeez. Gotta edit that part out. So yeah, I was surprised by, to get more serious, when I made that game, I made it with the Unity game engine, and I was surprised by how easy it was to sort of just pick it up and download some textures, put them on the 3D renderings, and it wasn't that hard to make a decent looking game.
I want to interject for a moment because we're going to get back on topic of the realistic graphics, which is where we're going. But see, that's what you just said. Now, this is something, a big argument in the gaming industry is that there's a barrier for entry for certain people in video games. Now, sometimes it's specifically women, that it's a boys' club, and that women can't design games. It's a male-dominated industry. But what you just said, I find that video games are so accessible to make anymore. It's very easy to get your hands on the engines, to get your hands on the tools, the textures, the models, everything you need to really put together a video game. You don't need
Well,
to
yeah, to a
join
certain
a
extent.
developer studio to do it. Anyone can do it. Do it from the comfort of their own home. They got
Well,
RPG
that's
Maker out there. They got whole programs designed to help you make a video game. Nice, smooth, and easy.
okay, but that's why you see so much trash on Steam.
Well, yes, I'm not going to disagree that a lot of it is trash, but I don't think that's because they don't have the proper tools. I think it's because they're shitty at video game development. As I would imagine, most people are shitty at most things, but a lot of people want to try a lot of things. So you got all these stupid little nerds out there that think, "Well, I can make the best RPG. It'll be just like Chrono Trigger inspired, crossed with Pokemon and Final Fantasy. It'll be the ultimate RPG ever made." And then they go download RPG Maker and they produce a complete piece of shit that they put on Steam for 99 cents. And there are millions of these games now, by all these stupid little mouth breathing nerds in their basements, and it's flooding Steam. And then we got to delete them all.
I don't
And Steam
think
finally
so.
released.
I mean,
Here's the thing, John. Steam just said, guess what? We got
here's
a new
the thing.
feature. We got a new feature. You can permanently delete any game. Just permanently get rid of it forever. You bought it. Guess what? Trash it. You got to buy it again if you want it.
Okay, what are you saying? That you couldn't do that before? If
No,
you
you
want to
couldn't
get
do that
garbage
before.
off your library, that you couldn't just delete it?
Well, Well, what you could do is you could hide it from your library. You could archive it so you just wouldn't see it. So, but it seems like we're gonna take it a step further for all of you fucking retards out there who want, for some reason, to delete your game permanently forever. Because uninstalling it and hiding it so you never have to see it is not good enough for you. You just want to spend $20 on a game and then just delete it, so that if you ever maybe want to play it again, you got to buy it. But now that's
I
a
can't
feature that
imagine
they
you
let
would
you
want
do.
to.
You have to
I
be a
don't-
complete moron to want to do that.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Who's the demographic that was asking for this?
I'm sure there are some people that would like to delete pure trash out of their library, never have to see it or pretend that they ever bought it again. I'm sure there's some people that would like to remove bad rats from their computer forever, or not from their computer. You can obviously remove it from your computer. I'm talking about your Steam library, so nobody has any evidence that you ever bought the game in the first place.
Well, why not give people the option to hide hide your Steam library, or hide particular games from your library, or hide your playtime on certain games or something like that, as opposed to just delete it entirely? It seems like a very extreme measure for a rather simple and uncommon problem. That's just my opinion. This is a thing people have been talking about, deleting a Steam, and I think the whole thing is silly. You got to be a real knucklehead to want to delete a game permanently forever. It's just a silly thing to do.
But you just said this is contradictory because you just said that you're talking about garbage that was on Steam.
Right.
So what if
and
you buy one of these
Steam,
dumb games and you don't want it? You don't even want any record of it being that you bought it, so
Well,
you want to delete it.
Well, garbage on Steam is what reminded me of this. Now, even if I bought a piece of garbage on Steam, I'm like, whatever, I'll uninstall it and I'll hide it and I'll archive it so I don't have to see it on my list. But why would I want to delete it? I still want to have it because it goes toward my Steam points now. It says I got 500 some games. I get a badge for that. I say, look at all my games. I got all these games. It's like a collection. Why would you want to delete? Like, if you had a bad movie in a DVD collection, would you just be like, fuck this movie and just throw it out? Because it was not a good movie? Does anybody even do that? And that's a physical DVD taking up physical space, and I don't think anyone does that. So having a digital library where you can just make something for all intent and purposes invisible, that you never have to think about.
I think people throw out DVDs.
Well, sure, John. Head on over to the Goodwill or the thrift shop, but this is different. You got to understand that. The digital library. You know what? Let's get back on topic. What was it that you were going on? What was the direction we were heading toward the realistic graphics here? You were telling us about the game that you made. You got all the models and skins on them. I took it completely off the rails.
All right. Well, we were talking about how long it was going to take to get to that point where we have those graphics, like the ones in that Pinnacle of V GTA mod, where it's almost photorealistic, where you can actually trick someone almost into thinking that that's like a real photo of something. Maybe not after they study it for a while. They study the picture for a while, but initially, and I think it's cool that even initially you can do that because that mod looks amazing. So, and we've kind of slowed down. We had a huge leap from, I'd say, the GameCube, PS2 generation to the Xbox 360, PS3 generation. And now you have Xbox One and PS4, and a lot of people are saying like it's not as big as a jump.
The most recent leap was definitely the smallest leap in history, I think, in terms of graphics for any console, at least relevant console generations. Even between simple things like NES and Sega and whatnot. The jumps have always been significant, but not between the 360 generation and the Xbox One generation. Much smaller. And I think that's because we're getting really close to having those realistic graphics. And the real challenge now is that we're able to make models that are high polygon count models that are close enough to what a human shape would look like. The real trick comes is now the lighting and the texturing. And the texturing, the more detailed you get, can take up a ton of space, and the lighting can take up even more space when you have dynamic lighting, and it needs to look realistic. And that's the real challenge: is cranking those things up enough, tuning them enough, and getting into enough detail that it really makes the world look alive. Like
even now, you have downloads for these games. You have to install games, or you have to download patches that have huge amounts of data. 20 gigabytes or something, and it fills up your hard drive. So you're talking about also hoping that in the future that your hard drives carry a lot more space, because otherwise, what are you going to do? You're going to have like 1-2 games, and
I find
half your hard drive will be filled with these textures.
Well, I think that I don't know the hardware that goes into a console, but it seems strange to me that consoles are so small in terms of storage, where we can fit 50 gigs onto a thumb drive, but we still have the consoles with like 32 gigs. It's weird, and I think that's because maybe the storage is attached to the memory or the video card storage that you're using. Or the CPU, I'm not sure, but it doesn't. I don't know that they use a secondary, actual dedicated storage device that's not attached to like the video driver or something like that. But the storage is small, and that's an issue on consoles right now, is how small the storage space is. Because last time, what did we talk about in terms of why the library that Steam has, why the whole like library of games and stuff isn't used on consoles, and we had a lot of theories, but one of our listeners, JT Pedley, God bless him, we love JT Pedley, we love you. He said it's probably due to the storage space. There's not a lot of space to put all these games. And I said, oh, that makes perfect sense. That was the answer that we were looking for, and we just didn't think of it.
Yeah, I mean, my Xbox One, I have an Xbox One. The hard drive space is about 250 gigabytes, and I've eaten that up almost entirely already. And I don't even have that many games. So you already have, I know people that have Xbox Ones or PS4s, and they have to attach external hard drives to keep their stuff on. And that's not cool. I mean, that's stupid. I hate that.
No, that's definitely it's weird, especially for how compact we can get 2 terabytes anymore. That we have such small, because games now are between 30 and 50. Any game like GTA 5 or Just Cause 3 and Fallout 4 and all these games that are attempting the nice graphics, they're just big. There's a big boys trying to fit into a small space.
Yeah, and I know I saw someone write about this issue as well, because this mod for GTA 5 was made by one guy. Okay, so some people were wondering why Rockstar, if one guy can do this in his spare time, why can't Rockstar just do this, in the first place, so that high-powered PCs can do this, can run a game like this. And I don't know if it's just the generation right now. Like the game, they started making that game a long time ago. So you might see the next game has graphics that are closer to that, but and I'm also not sure if they want to have somewhere to go up, But I kind of doubt that. I think it's just probably a resources thing. They feel like no console will be able to run graphics like that, so they don't waste their time trying to optimize that.
Right, and there's always the technology to make graphics far better than what video games can be. I mean, you can see that in CGI in movies. You can make graphics that look like real life right now, but it's the matter of putting them into video games that becomes very difficult, because it would just require an immense amount of space and processing power. That for all the resources that need to be in a game, there's just not enough. And I think that's probably what it comes down to: is how powerful can the system be, how good can the video drivers be, and the storage space be, in order to have enough hardware components to actually run what we're capable of doing. And that's been an issue for consoles. I think historically, we've always had better technology and graphics in movies and things of that sort than we've had in video games. And it's just because video games we can't run that kind of power. PC's always been a little bit ahead of consoles, or significantly ahead at certain points in terms of graphics. And that's why the first Witcher game came out on PC, because they wanted to make a really beautiful game, and it just wouldn't run well on consoles. So they made the sacrifice of not going for the console sales, which you got to respect them for, in order to make the best looking game they could make
for that time.
And and for that, I wish that The Witcher would just be like, you know what, we're gonna keep doing that. We're gonna do PC exclusive, because PC's not, it doesn't really do the exclusive thing if it can help it. Every other console's like, well, we're doing exclusives because we got to sell our console. PC's not like, we got to do exclusives to sell PCs.
I think the only time you see PC exclusives is when it's a smaller game and they just don't make it. They don't publish it for the big consoles. They don't want to distribute it or anything. Like, they don't have that kind of backing.
Yeah, and more recently, you're seeing PC exclusive. But before it was, World of Warcraft was PC exclusive. A lot of games like that. All of Blizzard's games were. And that's just because there wasn't any market for them on the consoles at the time. But then they made Diablo 3 for consoles, and they're making Overwatch for consoles. So they're all going cross-platform now. And I think the whole push to make everything cross-platform slows the whole better graphics down even more in terms of making progress there.
You still have people making games for Xbox 360 at this point. Call of Duty just released Black Ops 3, and that's available on Xbox 360. And one of the reasons why people cited that you have people still, there's like a record number of people still playing Black Ops 2 on Xbox 360. Like the servers are still being used. So, of course they're going to make another game and release it for Black Ops, release it for Xbox 360. Even though at this point I'm frustrated by that, I would like to see all the major publishers go towards only Xbox One, PS4, and PC.
Well, see,
Or Wii U if they have to. I don't know. They don't do that very often.
and that's an interesting point too. If the better the consoles get and the more features they offer and the better the graphics become, there will come a point where it hits a certain standard of just having everything it needs to have. So people aren't going to want to buy new consoles as much as they used to. When the N64 became the GameCube or the PlayStation became the PlayStation 2, everyone saw that and they thought, holy shit, look at how big the advancements have been in graphics and in everything else. And then recently with the consoles, they're like the home entertainment system hybrid where it does all kinds of other stuff. So they tried to make up for the fact that the graphics weren't better by adding other features that make you want an Xbox One versus the 360. But when we're going to hit a point eventually, I think, where you have good enough graphics that you can't get much better once you hit the point of near photorealism. There's not a lot of room to get better anymore. Then you got the basic features like the home entertainment system. You can control your Netflix, your TV, all that jazz. But then how are you going to sell more consoles? People are going to be content with the consoles they had, and maybe that's why we see people still playing on the 360 versus switching to the Xbox One, because there's not a great reason for them to do so.
Well, how long did you probably don't know this answer, but how long did Xbox 360 last before Xbox One was released? I think
I have
something
no
like
idea.
8 years or 7 years, 8 years, something like that. And I think it's going to be even longer with the Xbox One before Microsoft starts thinking about a new box, before PS4 starts thinking about a new box, which is why I'm disappointed, like even more disappointed with the graphics, with the hardware that they put in these things, because this is going to be the standard, and you're going to have publishers or studios that have to worry about optimizing games for these two consoles. So if PC is ready to move ahead, it doesn't matter. You know, they'll still have to think about the consoles.
You know what
sure
I
they
wish
can run on those.
we could do? And I wish everyone would just take a hint from Sega and be like, you know what? Let's stop doing consoles. Let's just publish games. Not that Sega even really publishes games much anymore, but I feel like they should. And I feel like Microsoft, just forget the consoles. Nintendo, forget the consoles. I wish everyone just made games for the PC. Then we could all just rejoice and be like, you know what? Console war, ceasefire. It's over. Let's everyone just take our.
It's never going to happen.
Have everybody, all the big publishers, just make games for the PC. The graphics will be better. Everything about the hardware is better. A PC can do everything and more than a console can do. And then you can have, if you like controllers, well, guess what? We got all these different ports you can use to plug in your controllers. You can have the Xbox controller. You can have the GameCube. It doesn't matter. We got everything. It's a system that can serve everything. And progress would be made in terms of graphics and games, and it's all on the same platform. That'd be a gaming paradise. I think that's what everybody wants. That's the end game. It's the best system with the best graphics, and it's going to advance far faster than any of the consoles are going to. And you can have all the games. Forget about the exclusives. Have them all.
Well, it's just not going to happen. There's too many advantages to consoles
Too much
because
money in it for Microsoft and Sony.
Kids especially benefit from consoles because they don't have to worry about, can my system run this? Is my rig too old to run these new games? They know that if they buy a console, if their parents get them an Xbox One, then they'll have a working console that can run everything for like 10 years. So it's just a huge advantage, and you're never going to see consoles go away for just PCs, I don't think. There have been talks about it happening, honestly. I think I've read about in the past that maybe consoles could finally see a decline, but it just doesn't happen. They were surprised by how many Xbox Ones and PS4s were sold. Publishers were caught off guard by it. That's why there was a dry spell in the new games for consoles, because publishers weren't necessarily assuming that there was going to be so many sales for these consoles immediately. So they were slow out of the gate to release games for them. Now you're seeing more. But That's just how it works.
Well, I think it's maybe one day a miracle will happen, and we can all just join hand in hand, forget about all the nonsense with the different consoles. And that's why I don't have consoles. I don't want to have to buy a system just to play one game I want. And that's what they do now. They just do exclusives to sell systems. They don't sell the system because the system's the best system. They sell it because it has these exclusive titles that you want. And that kind of sucks to me. But I'll tell you something.
Some people have said that I think Nintendo is closest to going the Sega route and becoming a only a publisher of games, but I think Nintendo will go under before they do that. They just seem like they have so much pride in their hardware and the stuff that they make that I can't see them ever doing that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they would choose to stick it out, but
You know what Nintendo should do as a business decision is publish games. Everyone loves Nintendo games, Nintendo characters. They're worth so much money, just the franchise of Nintendo and all their characters. It's worth a fortune. What they should do is drop out of the console game and start doing handhelds. You've got the handheld market by the balls. People have tried to compete for years. The PSP and all that, it doesn't even compare to the sales of the Nintendo handhelds. They've got it by the balls. They sell so many of them. Just focus on doing that and making that better, and forget about consoles. Though at the same time, I think Wii U's are selling off the shelves. I think this holiday season they've sold more Wii U's than PlayStations or Xboxes.
Yeah, I think people were waiting for good deals on Wii U's, especially for Smash. I've heard that bundle sold very well. It's pretty much sold out at this point. That Smash bundle with Splatoon and stuff. People went nuts for that, and people were waiting for the Wii U's price to drop because they just didn't. I don't know. I think a lot of people didn't find it worth it, but Nintendo held steady with that price point for so long because they claim that technology costs a lot for them to make the dual screens.
Oh yeah, right.
Even though that's been disappointing for me too, which is a completely different topic of discussion because I don't like the way that the dual screen has very little range. So it'd be cool if you could just walk around your whole house and not have to be near your console all the time. But it dies if you leave the room. So
See, that's just part of the Nintendo gimmick, is having an idea that's neat, but that's not practical yet. I can see that being an idea that's universal in 20 or 30 years when everyone's just like, why not have this pad that you can walk around the house with and control all your shit from? Great. But right now, it's not ready. When they released motion controls for the Nintendo Wii, they were garbage. They were so bad and clunky. Like, they were a gimmick, and that's what I always relate Nintendo to. It's just gimmicky. And they were gimmick then, and they weren't good enough. And then they abandoned that idea, and then they started trying to do like 3D with the 3DS, it's garbage. I guess the technology's like there to do it, but to do it well, it's not there yet. But they did it anyway, and that was their gimmick. And then with the Wii U, it's this whole pad system that doesn't like the way you're describing it. It's not where it needs to be yet to be like something that will really satisfy somebody. And I can imagine soon it's going to be holographic stuff. Oh, Nintendo's going to be the first gaming platform to introduce the hologram, the Wii U holographic, that's going to start projecting shit into your room. That's going to be clunky and awful to use, but they're going to do it, and they're going to sell stuff because people like to buy the gimmicks, I guess, but not me. I'm not buying the gimmicks, folks.
I'm interested to know if Nintendo's going to throw their hat into the virtual reality ring, because
I'm surprised they haven't.
Remember they tried to do that. What was the Virtual Boy? They tried this thing they stick your dumb dome up to and see terrible looking red lines graphics.
Yeah, virtual reality.
Mario Tennis. It's horrible.
I'm surprised Nintendo wasn't the first to really push that the virtual reality thing. 'Cause that's the next big gimmick. That's right now. It's cool. It's awesome. The motion controls are awesome that Nintendo was doing. The 3D graphics are awesome. It's a lot of cool ideas. You just have to wait till the technology's at a point where you can do it effectively. And that's where virtual reality is. It's not there yet. It's really cool in concept, and eventually it's going to be awesome. And I can imagine it's going to be standard
I think it's close.
for a lot of stuff. Yeah, give it a 5 more years maybe, and we'll have some really cool virtual reality technology. And there's so much potential there in virtual reality that I can see the development for that. And that maybe that's the next thing after realistic graphics, is we push those kinds of technologies forward with the virtual reality or the motion controls or the holograms or whatever else, and kind of move it to a different space as opposed to your 2D screen that you're playing on.
So are you saying that you don't believe that the Oculus Rift technology is exciting yet, or are you saying that you didn't? Because I think that they're pretty close to releasing a mainstream version of it that's available to the public and marketed to the public and stuff. Whereas to this point, it's been mostly the dev kit model, I think.
I don't believe it's going to be good enough right away. I think it'll be cool. I think some people will buy it and have fun with it. But I don't think it's going to be good enough for people to be like, yes, this is the future of gaming, is virtual reality. I think it's going to be an experiment that's a good first step, or second step, or third step if you want to count all the virtual reality gimmicks that came before it. But it's the first real step, and that's good. I'm 100% in support of that. I'm glad they're doing it, even if it doesn't turn out as good as it needs to. And I guess I can commend Nintendo for doing that. They do try to innovate in ways, and I respect that, as opposed to just like making better graphics every console generation and trying to sell the same Call of Duty games and Madden games and all that, which Xbox and Sony are guilty of. Maybe shape your controller a little bit differently each time.
Maybe someday you'll be able to make a sculpting game.
What's your favorite color?
My favorite color is blue.
Oh, that's nice. What about your favorite number?
89.
Cut that out. Cut all that out. Cut it all out. Cut all that out. That's garbage. That's not conversation. Cut it out. We were in a rut, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna hit him with the big questions. Cut it all out though, because it's garbage.
We're out of time anyways for today. Pretty much, we're about up against an hour here, so
we're gonna perfect timing.
We're gonna call it for today, folks. But thank you so much for listening to the Multitoad.com podcast, the Let's Beat It Together podcast.
Let's beat it together. Hop on, Toads.
With your host, John Jaguar, and his special guest, Luke Yoxilla.
The Alpha.
Are you sure about that? Because I just said I was the host.
Luke the Alpha.
See you around, Toads.
Beta Bucks. Jaguar.
Beta Bucks? Alright, see you around, Toads.
Stay cool, Toads.